Welcome to Change Tempo Leadership Insights. And in this first of a series of 6 interviews, I meet Becca Cranfield, Director at Athena Stonecare. And she's going to share with us the disruption and the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on a small business and how they are discovering new ways to build new business and maintain the customer experience that they've worked so hard to create. So welcome, Becca. It's an absolute pleasure to have you join me in this discussion. Why don't you start by just saying hello, tell us a bit about yourself and the business.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. And thank you so much for inviting me today as well. My name's Becca. I am co-director of Athena Stonecare. I run the business with my husband. He set it up 8 years ago and I muscled my way in 2 years ago to help grow the business. So we've been working side by side for the last few years. Quickly introduce what we do. A lot of people won't know what natural stone restoration means. It usually conjures up images of really, really old buildings, which isn't at all what we do. Vast majority of work is with stone that's about 10 to 15 years old. So it's internal marble, limestone, travertine, worktops, floors and walls, taking it back and just making it look brand new again. So we work with clients that have a vested interest in making sure that their natural stone always looks beautiful.
Wonderful. You must see some really nice examples of in installations of how beautiful it can be.
Yeah, we do. We're really lucky to work with some fantastic clients. Everything from kind of these gorgeous little mews in London where you go through the door and you're greeted with kind of top to toe, ceiling, walls, everything in marble that you just wouldn't expect.
Wow.
And then we deal with some gorgeous properties a little bit more locally around in Buckinghamshire. And again, they can have these kind of really vast open spaces just filled with some stunning limestone. I mean, I'm a sucker for limestone. I think it's absolutely beautiful. You can keep your marble. I'd have just some really natural looking homed limestone. I'd be happy down.
Beautiful, wonderful. So Becca, tell me, how big an impact was COVID-19 when it hit and we all went into lockdown? You know, what was that like for you and the business and your husband trying to grapple with that disruption?
It's absolutely huge. I remember kind of watching the news in the lead up to it and thinking this is going to be quite big, and my husband was kind of like, no, it won't be. And the day that lockdown got announced, we kind of realised from that moment on we needed to kind of make some decisions. It's nothing like anyone's ever faced, and I think that was the thing that really struck me, was just the enormity of it all. And that actually it wasn't just going to be about us, it was going to be about everybody. And as a small business, it's completely 100% linked to your life. Being told that you cannot run your business means that that's everything you do. That's our only source of income. So like a lot of small businesses, it was quite a personal disruption to us. And I think that's what made us take action so quickly. The minute that we realised the situation and that we weren't going to be able to work, and at the time they were saying kind of like 12 weeks, and I thought, right, okay, let's do a 12-week plan then. We can't control who's telling us what. We can't control what's going on outside. The only thing we can control is what we do. So from that very moment of, I think it was the 23rd of March we locked down, and on Friday I called a directors meeting, otherwise known as just talking to your husband. But we sat down and we went with a fine-tooth comb through all of our personal finances, the business finances, and just came up with these scenarios of actually, okay, what is it going to look like in terms of worst case scenario? If we don't make any money till October, what would that look like? And it's scary because you really can't predict for the first time. And a lot of people say, oh, lots of things happen in business and you can't plan for everything, and we couldn't have planned for this at all. I mean, in January we were looking at taking on an extra member of staff, buying a second van, next phase of expanding the business, and suddenly we just had to accept that that was going on hold. Someone had told me we couldn't go to work anymore, so it just all had to go into place. And actually the first thing we did was kind of focus on what needs putting into place to stop us from working. So what clients are already booked in, talking to our one employee that we've got. And then, as I say, we just did this planning exercise and we kind of went, okay, this has happened. You've kind of, we went through the period, I think, of acceptance really quickly compared to some people, because I just thought, well, I can't just sit here and say, what's going to happen? I don't know. I don't know what's happening outside, but we can control what happens to our business. So yeah, it was scary to be told that you will not be trading, you will take no income for the foreseeable future. Is terrifying. And
that's what really inspired me. You know, when I first met you a few months ago, we haven't known each other very long, but when I first met you, it was inspiring to hear your story about how you immediately took some action. You know, there must have been quite a bit of fear there, because you said this is personal, you know, it's impacting your livelihood. And the fact that you straight away started thinking about the different scenarios, you started thinking about the different options that you could take. You know, there's something in you as a leader that drove that, and I'm keen to know what was it? What was the motivation to, whereas some would sit back and say, oh, I'm going to wait for this to play out. You didn't. You said, let's take control, because no one else is going to do it. So what was it? What was that inside you, that attribute or as a leader that made you do that?
I think it's a couple of things, really. I think first and foremost, I have always been a big believer in the fact that you can only control your reaction to a situation. You can't necessarily control situations, and that's been in my personal life as well. So I've had so many different kind of jobs over the years where curveballs have been thrown at me, and I kind of went, well, okay, I could say this is really rubbish, and it is really rubbish, but I could sit here and say it's really rubbish and do nothing, and nothing's going to change about that situation. So I've really learned, I think, over the years in kind of various roles that I've been in, to kind of make sure that you take an action, and that's what will determine your fate ultimately.
Right.
And I think a massive thing for me is actually the passion that we've both got for this business. I really remember a moment, so we'd done all of this planning, and don't get me wrong, we didn't every single day feel fantastic about the situation. There was days where I woke up and thought, what is going to happen? But there was one day, and I remember it really vividly. I'd woken up and I thought to myself, I actually think we need to plan for worst case here. Are we just going to sit back and do nothing? Or, let's face it, I could go and get a job. There's nothing to stop me from going back into the sector I used to be in, or whatever. Dave can manage on his own. And I had this kind of realisation. I texted my best friend and said this to her, and she said, yeah, I think that'd be for the best. And that hit me and riled me right back up. And I thought, no, I am not giving up on my business. This is what I care about. I love what I do. And it suddenly made me realise that, no, I didn't want to do that. And actually, I think one of the most important things that you have to have is a real conviction and belief in what you're doing. I have no idea. I cannot predict what's going to happen with the market of people that we deal with, whether they're going to be hugely impacted by coronavirus, not impacted. I don't know the answers yet. However, I strongly believe in our business. I really believe in the decisions we've made, and the angles that we've gone down, and the kind of the different ways we've gone about things. I believe in it, and I couldn't walk away from my business and just go, yeah, actually, money's number one to me. So if I need money, I'll go and do this. That's not my driver. I've never been money driven. It is about what we believe for our business. We want to grow the business, and so I've got to still have a growth mindset now. I can't sit back and kind of just go, oh well, we'll just kind of hope for the best.
Yeah.
As long as we get there in the end, it's not like that for me.
No, but there's another underlying challenge for you, isn't there? I remember you mentioned that a lot of your business, well, you're highly reliant on new business. Once it's going to be a long while before someone's marble hallway will need refreshing again. So more about that.
I mean, that is a huge challenge for us, definitely, as a business, because we have some brilliant clients who have us in every single year, but it's not for everybody. So I'd say a strong kind of 60% of our work is new business. Mm-hmm. And that, I think, trying to drum up business in the current climate has been completely different. And actually that's something that I found quite challenging. My role has always been new business. And actually it's been a real different approach to it, and it kind of nicely for us, I guess, built into a kind of way that a kind of path we were treading anyway. So we don't really do too much pushing and kind of selling what we do. It's just not, it's not our way of doing things. For me, we really, really kind of do more of education, and so it's something we're really passionate about. More passionate than the work we do is actually educating people about how to care for their stone.
Okay.
And actually that's something we realised within this kind of context of COVID-19, was that actually people don't want to be told, oh, do you know what, we've got this bloke that can come into your house and charge you to renovate your floor. Great, that's obviously the end goal. People with stone will need that doing, but actually what we wanted to say to people was, if you've got natural stone, did you know that you can look after it yourself? Here's some of our hints, here's some of our tips. And it was something we've been passionate about for a really long time. And I thought, well, actually this is now more than ever, this is the chance to tell people about that. Because they're sat at their computer a lot of the time, or flicking through their phone, and actually the more people that we can kind of educate about how to look after their natural stone, ultimately they'll remember us down the line as, oh, there was that company who did those videos or had that aftercare guide.
Yes.
And that was really important to us, because actually I kind of took my mindset from brands and how they'd reacted with me. Right. So it was really interesting. I guess we all had the same kind of thing, where you'd have your inbox one day would be full of people trying to give you funding, and then you'd have people trying to sell you face masks and all this sort of thing. And the people that I actually respected the most were the people that were just giving me free advice. So I had a HR consultant who we weren't even using at the time, and she just kept sending me all of this information, and I was like, that's amazing. I now use her services, and I'll pay for her services, because I thought that was incredible. And the same, you'd get kind of emails, personal ones, and the restaurants that might be sending you recipe ideas. I thought, well, that's brilliant. What an amazing thing to do with their time. And I think that's what people respect. If you are giving a little bit of yourself for free, that actually they're going to remember you to start with. And so we kind of completely changed and actually used the opportunity to do a lot more personal contacting as well. So I don't have a newsletter, we don't do any of that with our clients, because quite frankly I don't think they'd be that interested in kind of repeatedly hearing about how to clean a floor. but we do kind of from time to time send out little MailChimps, but I really didn't want to do that, so we actually painstakingly went through our database and segmented it. It took me days to do it, and we individually emailed every single one of our clients, just various things. Some of them we said, how's your floor looking, how's the family, and lots of, but it meant we could completely personalise it. And that was a massively unique opportunity. We would never have got that had we not had a bit more time on our hands. So yeah, we took a bit of a kind of U-turn with how we did things, but it certainly seems to have paid off, which is quite nice.
Well, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, as a customer, you were saying, you know, as customers, we've all experienced, you know, suppliers or people that we would go to, and they've either tried to push and sell, or they've been there as a support. And I think one of the conclusions I came to right earlier on is that it's not about revenue during these unprecedented times. It's about the relationship, and how you look after your customers during times like this are going to pay dividends in the future. And I think this whole personalization, just taking the time out to reach out to your customers individually, and also educate, help people maintain their floor as best they can. And then when there comes a time, they're going to come to you to say, look, you know, I've done the best I can. Can you make it look really nice? And I think that's a very powerful way to do that. So what else did you do? You did the MailChimps.
Yeah.
I also remember you saying something around that you were able to trace back this activity to actually new business, which is phenomenal. So
we are quite big, and I think it is really important in business to monitor where the business comes from, because I do think it is one of the toughest jobs doing new business, because it is a thankless job. You can contact, I mean, we don't really market ourselves to our end client that much. We market ourselves to people that might be able to introduce us to our end clients. So it might be interior designers, construction companies, stone suppliers, and so you can speak to, or try and speak to, 15 interior designers, hear back from 5, and have a meeting with 1. And it is a frustrating task to do, but I think we make sure that we monitor kind of where our work then comes from, so that we can actually look back and say, okay, so that was a really worthwhile conversation. And I think that's one of the things that I focused on a lot during lockdown, was actually there's a hell of a lot more people I can talk to now. And people that I might have had to go into London. I used to kind of book up 5 meetings in a row in one day. 3 would get cancelled, and then you've gone into London and you're just hanging around. So to be able to actually say to people, look, I've not spoken to you in a little while, it'd be good to just check in, see how you are. I did a lot of just checking in with people. So it was people I'd met networking, people that we might have worked with once before, just send them a note and saying, look, how are you? This is how we are. And it was interesting, because the first couple of conversations I had were very much people just focusing on talking about COVID-19, what it had done for them and how it felt. And that was fine.
That's important. Yeah, people are just sharing and saying, are you having the same experience as me? So
it was nice to have someone else to talk to who would be really honest with you, actually, because I think my number one advice always in business is to surround yourself with other brilliant business people, because that's the only way you're ever going to learn. So yeah, just having conversations. I went kind of crazy for doing Zoom meetings, networking, but not just doing them and not caring about them, doing them and then following up with them. I've started sending postcards to people after we've had a meeting, and kind of this sort of thing. And just, I want to make it personal. We're not a big company. We are a professional company, but we're also really human. And that's something for me, I think, really pays off, that you can have a meeting with somebody, and that human element has to come across.
Yeah.
And especially at the moment, everyone's got their own personal situations, whether they're homeschooling children or they've had to close their business, and actually you've got to really respect that. And we're all in such a unique situation, and that's kind of underpinned everything that I've done. Even on LinkedIn, I guess I've kind of gone a little bit more personal with some of my posts on LinkedIn, which I wouldn't usually, and I don't want it to ever turn too much into Facebook. But I do think it is the time to kind of go, well, actually, I'm a person before business. I'm not a business person.
Lovely.
And that has to come across. And it certainly, it does seem to be paying off. There's we've built some really, really brilliant and I think lasting relationships over the last 3 months. And that's been really useful. And I do think it's just about being really honest as well.
Yeah. I love
Really
that humanity piece, that I'm a human and everybody you're working with, and I think that empathy you have with your clients and your suppliers, and the people that can refer you, and the ability to keep that network fed and give and take is a really great example of being in the disruption together, not being alone, but being in it, working through it together, getting ideas off each other, being generous with your ideas as well.
Yeah.
So just a sort of final point, as you think about the challenges going forward, what are you preparing for now as you start to think about coming out of lockdown?
Yeah, it's funny. I do think that coming out of lockdown is almost harder than going in.
Gosh,
I
really?
did.
Oh no.
I said this to my husband the other day. I said, well, when we were told you can't trade, it's right, okay, we can't trade. What are we going to do in 3 months of spare time? Now we're told you can trade, but you've got this whole new kind of world to navigate where
There's
it's
another disruption.
Yeah, and trying to figure out, well, has my phone not rung because there's no business for us, or are we not doing enough to get the business, or is it just a quiet day? And it's not, we can't have our normal level of expectation. And actually the summer months are usually quieter for us anyway. So it's for me, it's kind of navigating and really closely monitoring what happens over the next 3 months, because I did a bit of a reforecast on Friday, because that's the fun things you do on a Friday when you own a business. And I looked at the numbers and I kind of projected what I thought we could and should be doing within the next year. And then I actually shocked myself at kind of what the outcome was. And I thought, well, actually, okay, maybe this could just be a blip and things will turn to a bit more normality. So I think for us, it's very, very much closely monitoring the situation now. We also have the added challenge that we're now going to have to recruit. Yeah, lockdown gave our one employee time to reflect, and he's actually decided to move back up north. So that was unexpected when we wanted to unfurlough him. However, massive step for him, and I think it's the right move for him. But it just means it's a curveball for us, and actually another new beginning that actually I think will be one to welcome. Kind of a bit of new blood into. And
it's a fresh start, and you can reset the rules with your new employees. That sounds perfect.
Yeah, and I think it's probably not a terrible time to be recruiting right now. So we're probably quite lucky in that respect. But yeah, so that's our new big thing really, is going to be kind of recruiting, monitoring and analysing what we are doing, and monitoring the success of some of the approaches we've made over the last 3 months as well. We've got a YouTube channel launching soon, so I need to see, is that worth doing again? Do we want to throw some more money at that? And yeah, just kind of keeping a track on things, but keeping building. And I think that's the main thing for me. I'm never happy to just kind of go, oh, we'll just business as usual for a
Toddle
little
along. Yeah, exactly.
There's always something new, and something different to develop, and yeah, I think that's what we want to keep doing. I don't want to kind of just go, oh well, the last couple of months was a bit weird. We need to go, right, okay, what next?
What's next?
Yeah, so yeah, more building the business, hopefully.
Excellent. Well, I think that what's next is perfect, because it just sums up you and who you are and how your mindset and your approach to leading this business. So, well, congratulations for sticking at it and continuing with your belief with Athena Stonecare. It's wonderful speaking with you, Becca, and I wish you all the very, very best in the future.
Thanks.
What an interesting discussion there from Becca. She shared with us some really good insights about how what they're doing to lead through disruption. So let's just remind ourselves of some of the things that she said. Some of the mindset that I captured from the discussion was this acceptance of disruption, and the fact that she was saying that you can control the reaction to the disruption, but you can't control the disruption yourself. So that means that there's a certain amount of resilience, a hell of a lot of resilience actually, with Rebecca and how she views her business. The other is around a conviction and passion in your business. Even when things are not looking good, just believing in what you are doing and the service that you provide and why you're here. And once you've made those decisions, believe in them. There's no point going ahead with something that you don't believe in. So that belief and that tenacity. And always keeping a growth mindset, looking at creative ways of developing brand and reputation. So that brings us nicely onto customer focus in terms of how Becca and her husband started to reach out to her customers or their customers and to provide real advice and real education rather than doing the hard sell. Treat your customers how you like to be treated. She herself had mentioned to me on a couple of occasions that there were lots of people that would hard sell to her, but that's not what she wanted. She wanted support and help. So that's why she was trying to do that with her customers. And make communications personal rather than just doing a one-size-fits-all communications. She looked at each of her customers and customized a communication and just saying hello. And then be human. Well, that's about it, isn't it? It's about being human, checking in with no agenda, not trying to sell anything. So finally, the actions piece. What specific things did she do? As soon as the disruption happened, she assessed the situation and she created possible scenarios just to look at which option that they needed to move forward with. Making decisions and taking those actions quite quickly. Yes, it's important to just stand in the moment and accept that there is disruption, but also to move quickly and take some action. Monitor where your business is coming from. So being clear about what impact your efforts are having, and network, of course, and closely monitor the situation when she is now expecting even more disruption. I liked what she said. It's sometimes more difficult to get back to work than it is to stop work. So I wish her all the best, and it was very interesting having the conversation with her, and I hope you enjoyed it too. Join us for the next one. Thank you. Bye.